This morning, chances has gone way up for all of our tropical cyclones, where we could be soon getting two tropical storms forming next. One of them could be forming by 11 a.m. this morning, but let's look at that in today's video, guys. So we have two areas of interest which has gone way up in chances, 96 and now up to a high chance, a 70% chance of forming. And this big tropical wave here, 95L, believe it or not, has gone up to a 40% chance that it tracks towards Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and the Lesser Antilles, and maybe possibly Bahamas, Florida, Cuba. So we'll have to look at that very closely. First off, today we're going to be taking a look at 96L, which is heading for the Carolinas and could be making landfall before tonight. National Hurricane Center has already stated that tropical storm warning may need to be issued, and we will get a recon into the system before this afternoon, as it could rapidly intensify into a tropical storm before making landfall. National Hurricane Center has also stated that this system could become a tropical storm as it heads closer to the Lesser Antilles and then continue to intensify moving northward towards the U.S. We'll look at that in today's video. First off, looking at a 96L. This is our current satellite IR imaging, and we can see some very interesting stuff with this. We do have a closed center right here. This is our closed low, and they said it is a well-defined closed low. But what is keeping it from becoming a tropical cyclone is all the thunderstorm activity is well displaced over the western side of the storm. So what we need for this to become a tropical storm or tropical depression is we need a burst of convection over, or at least closer and more organized around that low around that low center. And currently, it's been struggling to do so because of some high wind shear pushing everything to the west, and quite a bit of dry air trying to get into the center, pushing everything to the west, which is causing our low pressure center to be completely exposed from any tropical moisture and from any tropical disturbance, which is, as you can see, spreading far out inland at this point over parts of Georgia. Now, this storm is going to be continuing to track generally towards South Carolina or Georgia, and it does have a little bit of time here in that in some warmer waters right off the coast right here, where it could have a chance to get some convection going and rapidly intensify into a weak tropical storm or tropical depression as right before it makes landfall, like Bertha last year, which formed minutes before making landfall. This is the current tracks. Obviously, it's going to be making landfall in a bit more than 12 hours, according to this. In 24 hours, it will be over Georgia. So we're looking at a landfall, at about maybe 1 to 2 p.m. this afternoon, maybe a little later. So again, once it gets a little closer to land, it will have a better chance of forming with that those warm waters from the Gulf Stream coming off the east coast here. So we'll have a little bit of warmer waters, maybe a little less wind shear, and maybe have a chance to organize itself a little better. If you look at the model guidance here, most models do keep it a closed low, but not really forming it into anything. This is the GFS model. And European model is similarly not really forming it into much. European model keeping it an open wave at that landfall point. Same thing with most models. CMC does also keeps it open, even though it currently does have somewhat of a closed low pressure center. NAVGEM doesn't form it either. So as you can see, most models really aren't going on to, even the National Hurricane Center and many other forecasters has this a 70 to 80% chance of forming. And it really looks great with that low pressure really well defined right here, and that cloud tops to the west of it, which is rather interesting. Another thing to keep in note here is that this is where the storm is currently located. You can see that cloud top, but it is currently in some fairly low wind shear, which is rather interesting to why it's really struggling with that, with keeping some convection over the center. What's likely is that there is some wind shear, maybe more in the upper levels or the lower levels, which is really keeping those thunderstorms from building over that center. It's still unclear whether it's more of a wind shear problem or just really lots of dry air, because there's quite a bit of dry air mass here in the off the east coast, which could be really affecting the system. Next, we're going to be talking about 95L, which has been up to a 40% chance, currently located right here. I'm not going to show the satellite imagery because it's pretty much the same as yesterday. It's just an open wave with some thunderstorm activity and clouds surrounding it, so not much happening. But the National Hurricane Center has stated that if this system were to form, it will be a couple days out. So in pretty much in this range right here, as it moves closer to the Lesser Antilles, where conditions do become a little bit more favorable. For the next 48 hours, it will stay in the main dominant region, and 72 hours crossing over the Lesser Antilles. This is where things become, oh, we don't really know what's going to happen. Some models take it straight into the Western Caribbean, and most models take it up over Hispaniola and then either towards the US or towards out to sea. So we have three paths. What seems to be, at least yesterday, it seemed to be a little bit more likely that it would maybe push just straight westward. This morning, the trend is maybe a little bit more to the northeast, maybe towards Florida, maybe out to sea. After that 96-hour period, it becomes a little unsure where it's going. What's for sure that the Lesser Antilles will be getting the impacts from the storm, as well as Hispaniola and Puerto Rico area. Whether it becomes a tropical storm, chances are rising for that. Again, now 40% chance to do so, and that's likely to increase in about 48 hours when it's right here to a high chance. This is currently the models for guidance intensity. Models were a little stronger on maybe stronger storm yesterday, pushing a little higher and a little more consistent. Most models all being together towards a stronger system. This morning, a little bit more wicked. We're not as sure what's going on. It seems most models have a little bit of a weaker system. And it's a little, some models take it up to category 2, some models category 1, some models tropical storm. It's not as, the models aren't agreeing as much as the intensity, and that is normal as it is a little bit far out, but that's getting in about 48 to 72 hours and when this is supposed to potentially become a tropical storm. As we look here at our tropical Atlantic where our storm is located, you can see that tropical wave right here is a little bit, this is pretty much the mess that we're looking at for this tropical wave. This general area right here. And then as you can see with this GFS run, it does end up becoming a closed blow for in about 24 hours or so. And it then opens back up and really falls apart over the Caribbean, which is rather interesting as we were seeing a little bit of a stronger storms with earlier model runs. Um, the European model has a little bit more defined storm, with this one still not really forming, but the wave after most models do have forming, so that's what we need to talk about. Also, we currently have a tropical wave moving off the coast. It's currently located right here, and this tropical wave is likely to intensify further than our current one being tracked and track towards the Caribbean, potentially intensify further in the Gulf of Mexico. So that is currently a possibility that we have to watch extremely closely for the next couple of days, as any of these systems could become an impact to land and possibility a threat to the Caribbean and the United States.